Explained by the Billy Meier contacts. Mysteries, myths, legends, conspiracy theories, historical inaccuracies, and more. Compiled by David Chance, revised October 18, 2023.
Crystal skulls. Contact Report 400.
I have explained again and again that the crystal heads have nothing to do with extraterrestrials, and therefore cannot be traced back to them, but that these crystal heads were made in Germany in the 19th century. Nevertheless, this does not want to be accepted as the truth.
The crystal heads you mentioned, which were found in Southern America and attributed to the Maya and supposedly originated from extraterrestrials, were, as you just said, produced in Germany in the 19th century, in the gemstone and diamond-cutting workshops of those places that were merged to form the city of Idar Oberstein in 1933. The client was a wealthy man named Florian Rosenfelder from Germany, who was privately and as a hobby engaged in archaeology, and who also brought the crystal heads to the Mayan areas, where he discovered them as a sensation. However, he was only able to place the crystal heads at different places, where he thought to discover them under witnesses, but he was not able to do this anymore because he died of poisoning, which he suffered from locals who robbed him.
Contact Report 593.
Then a question about the crystal heads or crystal skulls, especially the one called the Mitchell-Hedges crystal skull, because it was allegedly discovered in 1927 by Anna Mitchell-Hedges in a temple complex in the jungle of Honduras. The crystal skull is said to be a machined rock crystal in the shape of a skull. Again and again there are broadcasts on television where the age, origin, and purpose of the crystal skulls is known commercially, but the solution to the mystery is not found. Perhaps we should say something about it again, or rather you, to make things clearer.
There is not only one crystal skull, but several of them, which are ascribed to old cultures, but also to extraterrestrials, and are said to be very old. However, this in relation to extraterrestrials corresponds to nonsensical assertions of insane esoteric believers and phantoms, as well as blind archaeologists, etc., who would like to see certain crystal skulls as products of Central or South American advanced civilizations, such as the Incas, Maya, or Aztecs. Everything in this respect is based only on assertions, which have no archaeological value whatsoever and which cannot be confirmed and substantiated by effective real finds of crystal skulls which have not been fraudulently brought about. In reality, various crystal skulls have been deliberately faked and placed in places to be found there. Various such crystal skulls were made from rock crystal, quartz, or other precious stones as replicas of human skulls. They were made in the 19th century in a European center for crystal cutting, namely in Idar Oberstein in Germany in the Rhineland-Palatinate. So the whole thing, as I said, is just nonsensical claims of people who want to ascribe everything to Indian advanced civilizations or extraterrestrials. Truth is that these crystal skulls do not have an age of 1,000 years or more, but only of some more than 200 years. The crystal skulls continue to be counterfeited worldwide, also in a commercial way, and especially in Asia, many hundreds of such crystal skulls are produced every year and sold all over the world. Such fake skulls have also repeatedly found their way into museums. 3 crystal skulls are particularly well known in this regard. The Mitchell-Hedges crystal skull in the British Museum in London, the London crystal skull in the Welcome Gallery of the British Museum, and the Paris crystal skull in the Musée du Quai Branly in Paris. As said before, all these crystal skulls are more modern productions of the modern age, which were made in the 19th century in Idar Oberstein in Germany, but where other places have to be considered as well, as electron microscopic examinations of the London Crystal Skull show, where traces of processing are demonstrably present, as they are only caused by modern grinding tools. If the time of the first discovery of a crystal skull is investigated, the earliest evidence of this can be found in the 19th century. And if the controversy is discussed whether these are ancient artifacts or modern forgeries, then it must be said that this is completely superfluous, because reason alone does not permit such a thing, because a highly technical, mechanical prerequisite had to be given for the production of the crystal skulls. This is also proven by the traces of very regular abrasion and polishing marks which can only be produced by machines and which could never have been produced by hand. The Mitchell-Hedges crystal skull is probably the most famous, and in life-size production it weighs 5.3 kilograms. It is said to have been found in 1924 in Lubantoon, British Honduras, note Billy. Today, Belize, by Anna Mitchell-Hedges, who was 17 years old at the time, when she is said to have accompanied her adoptive father, Frederick Albert Mitchell-Hedges, 1882-1959. She is said to have been present at his excavations, but this is not true, because she was not with him when he searched for Atlantis, which he believed to have discovered. I was able to clarify this clearly by looking back. This Mitchell-Hedges skull is particularly noteworthy because, in addition to its almost perfect workmanship, it differs from most other crystal skulls because it has a removable lower jaw made from the same piece of crystal as the skull itself. But also this fact and the great similarity to the London skull cannot hide the fact that this Mitchell-Hedges crystal skull is also a fake. This also does not change the fact that when the skull is illuminated from behind with a strong light, this light is bundled inside the skull so that it shines like a third eye on the forehead and through the two eye sockets. If at that time in Idar Oberstein there had not been adequate modern apparatus and machines, etc., available in accordance with the time and the development, the production of such crystal skulls would not have been possible, so that they could only be produced in the modern world with appropriate devices, as these have existed and been used in Europe for a very long time. Nowadays, such skull sculptures are even produced in large quantities by machine and sold all over the world, whereby the production is mainly from the Asian region, as well as the sale of these products all over the world. Also, supernatural forces or techniques of processing from times long past, which are no longer known today, cannot be considered for the production of the crystal skulls because they simply did not exist at that time, when the advanced cultures of the Incas, Maya, and Aztecs, etc., were in bloom. If they had had to grind and polish a crystal skull with manual labor, it would have required an enormous amount of manual labor and taken many centuries or even well over 1,500 years, if the whole procedure is calculated with about 12 daily working hours per skull. Although the processing of rock crystal is rather unproblematic, without appropriate machines, everything would have been an unsolvable problem for the Maya, Incas, and Aztecs, etc. In contrast, the techniques for working rock crystal and gemstones have been known and used in Europe for centuries, as can be seen in the drinking vessels made of rock crystal from the Baroque period, note Billy. The Baroque period was 1575 or 1770. If we continue to look at the London crystal skull, it is very similar to the Mitchell-Hedges skull, but it does not have a removable lower jaw. It is said that this skull was found in Mexico in the 19th century, but another time this is not true because it was made by the same artisans and was also exposed to be discovered. On the surface of the crystal there are traces which are clearly caused by the use of grinding wheels, but which were not known in the ancient civilizations of the Incas, Maya, and Aztecs and therefore could not be used. Furthermore, No occurrence of the corresponding type of crystal from which this skull is made can be found in Mexico. But on the other hand, this type of crystal is found in Brazil, from where crystal and gem cutters in Idar Oberstein had crystals brought here as early as the 19th century. Then there is the Parisian crystal skull, which is considerably smaller than life-size and is made of cloudy quartz. This skull is quite roughly worked, and in this respect it does not bear comparison with the Mitchell Hedges and London skulls. This skull is also said to have been found in a grave in Central America, but this is again a lie in the sense that it was made and left there by an ancient civilization. This skull was forged by an antiquarian named Eugène Bobin and then brought to France. The skull was worked with modern milling machines, which is proven by traces of iron, which can be found on the skull. At the time of pre-Columbian peoples, however, iron was demonstrably still unknown.
It is claimed that even today it is not possible to imitate such skulls.
This is also not true, because it can be proved that such crystal skulls have already been reproduced with the most modern technology in good perfection, so that their reproduction is absolutely comprehensible and in a way that is just as perfect as it was done in the past in Idar Oberstein with less high-tech possibilities. I am talking about scientific works that have been made, but which have no relation to the hundreds and thousands of skulls made of all kinds of glass, crystals, and other materials that have been produced and sold on the world market for decades. Furthermore, it must be clearly stated that it is completely mistaken and misleading, as well as irresponsible to claim that the aforementioned crystal skulls have been lost for many centuries, because this is not possible and also not the case, because their production in Idar Oberstein actually took place in the 19th century, as I personally clarified in my own interest when the matter became public. And the fact that the crystal skulls have been attributed to these magical powers ever since they became known is as much an absolute nonsense as the fact that a human being dies when he looks into the eye socket of the Mitchell Hedges crystal skull, which is therefore called the Skull of Doom.